I will do what I must.
You will try.
Classic review. Star Wars Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith was written and directed by George Lucas. This was, at the time, the 6th film in the entire Star Wars series, and the 3rd, and of course final installment in the prequels trilogy. It has been re-released now for its 20th anniversary. This movie came out 20 years ago, and it's being re-released into theaters. For 1 week only, though. Most likely by the time I'm getting this out, it's not even in theaters anymore. But yeah, I just got back from seeing it in the theater, and I was pretty excited going into rewatching this, because if you have kept up with my Letterboxd, which I know none of you have. I have one follower, and I doubt that he even looks at my stuff, but any which way, I recently put out reviews for episodes 1 and 2 of Star Wars. I rewatched those. I actually rewatched the Clone Wars micro series that came out between 2 and 3 as well. I even rewatched the Clone Wars film that did come out in theaters. A lot of people doubt that. It did. I saw it. I was there. Lord, I was there. Ugh, that's a pretty rough one. But yeah, I rewatched all that. You know, Andor's back now. I'm not actually loving that so far. But still, all that to say, I've just been in a Star Wars mood lately. I've been getting hyped up for going to see this again. I've also never done a review for a Star Wars movie. At this point, I've had this channel for years, and I've never talked about any of the movies. So I'm surprised it's taken this long, but hey, you know, we're here. Now I am a fan of the Star Wars franchise. You know, I think as any passionate fans are, there's stuff I like. There's a lot of Star Wars stuff I like, and there's a lot of stuff that I don't like as well. I don't live and breathe Star Wars. I don't love at all. There's, like I said, things I don't like about it too. But overall, I do consider myself a fan of the world and the franchise. With this being the final installment in the prequels trilogy, and connecting that trilogy with the originals, episodes 4 through 6, this is the one where we finally do get to see Anakin's true descent into the dark side. And by the way, spoilers ahead, this movie's 20 years old. You have all seen it, I know you have, but still, for the 3 people that haven't seen it, I'm going to be talking spoilers here. In this movie, Anakin starts having nightmares about Padme, dreaming that she dies while giving birth to the child that she is pregnant with, although they don't know yet that it's actually 2 children that she's got in there. He's having these dreams about her dying while giving birth, and he's getting real stressed about it. It's reminding him of the nightmares he used to have about his mother before he found her and before she met her fate. So, of course, naturally, like anyone would be, he's stressed and he wants to find some sort of resolution with this. And so through his close friendship with Chancellor Palpatine in this period of time, he comes to learn of a power that can be attained to cheat death and save someone from dying, although it's not real. It's all just manipulation from Palpatine, of course. But Anakin becomes obsessed with this, and he doesn't care. He just wants to do anything that he can do to protect Padme, so he continues befriending Palpatine and just, you know, he wants to save her, so he's willing to risk any possible dangers that could come his way, even though everyone is telling him this isn't a good idea. Like, you hanging out with Palpatine isn't great. We don't trust him. Obi-Wan just can't seem to catch a break at this point, you know, telling Anakin, like, don't be careful about Palpatine. He's not trustworthy. You know, he tells Luke in Empire Strikes Back, don't go fight Vader. Luke doesn't listen to him. He fights Vader. Just no one wants to listen to Obi-Wan. It's poor guy. The movie begins with Obi-Wan and Anakin on a mission to rescue Palpatine, who's being held captive by General Grievous, which, if you've seen the miniseries that had aired before this came out, you would know that that's what it ended with them doing, them going on that mission. And then this begins with them doing that. It's pretty cool when you watch that and then go into Revenge of the Sith. It actually lines up very well. It's a pretty epic opening shot as well, obviously starting in space and then panning down and showing Obi-Wan and Anakin's ships flying through space and amongst this gunfire from other ships, and it's a fairly long take as well. I think there's probably a cut when at one point the frame gets engulfed by flames. It looked like there may have been a cut there, but even with that, it still was a pretty impressive opening shots, and also the CGI still looks good to this day. This entire opening scene from the beginning to when they crash land in Coruscant with having attained the Palpatine is a lot of fun. There's a lot of good stuff here. I like a lot of the banter between Obi-Wan and Anakin when they're in the elevator after Anakin jumps back in, and like he's not, like Obi-Wan's trying to talk but he's not letting him finish, and he's like, what? Did I say anything? Like that whole exchange I think is so funny.
Has been no loose wire jokes. Did I say anything? He's trying. I didn't say anything.
I like the lightsaber duel as well between Obi-Wan, Anakin, and Count Dooku. It's mostly just Anakin and Dooku though, and then Anakin being peer pressured into killing Dooku from Palpatine, which is a wild move for him to just, put a hit on Dooku in real time. It's pretty insane. But Obi-Wan and Anakin really do come off as friends for like the first half of this movie, as people that enjoy working with each other and can count on each other, and it really does validate Obi-Wan in his older years, looking back on his time with Anakin fondly, saying he was a good friend. It's like you see this and it's like, okay, I can see why he felt that way. Before, not so much, with how much they argued and bickered, but it's a lot more believable when you watch this movie, hearing him say that it makes more sense. This does lead me to my first kind of big complaint, though, and that is regarding Anakin's actual turn to the dark side. Okay, so obviously this is something I have to get into. This is much talked about subject regarding this movie. It's incredibly abrupt, obviously, the moment that Anakin does go bad, so to speak, and pledges himself to Palpatine's teachings, as he puts it, because of how quickly it happens, because 10 minutes ago he's writing him out to Mace Windu, telling him about how he's knows the ways of the dark side and he thinks he's a Sith Lord, and then 10 minutes later he's chopping off Mace Windu's hand and letting him get killed by Palpatine. All that is why it's abrupt. But I really do think it's also because Lucas decided to make Obi-Wan and Anakin have more camaraderie with each other in this one and be more like seem like real friends in this movie, and for a lot of this movie too, like a majority of it, they're good with each other. My question is, where was that in episode 2? I feel like it would have made more sense to have them be cool with each other in episode 2 and then have more of the arguing and the bickerment in this one. So that way, I feel like if it were done like that, his turn to the dark side wouldn't feel so abrupt. That's just my opinion. I feel like that would have made more sense if they went in that direction. I also don't understand how Mace and Palpatine weren't like struggling to stay afoot after that window crashes and all the glass dissipates. Like, how were they just fine? Earlier, when it happened, when General Grievous shot through the glass, like Obi-Wan and Anakin were having to hold on to stuff to not get blown out of the ship. I understand they're in the building and it's still and they're not moving, but still, the wind should have caused some movement there, but they're just cool, they're chilling. This, of course, though, leads into Order 66 taking place. The clone troopers turning on the Jedi and killing them. The genocide of the Jedi, essentially. And I think this is great. I think this is a really, really well done scene, and it's cool rewatching this today, seeing this, because we've seen this scene redone with the Clone Wars, with Bad Batch, and I could just remember seeing some internet comments saying, like, how many times are we going to see this damn scene? Like, how many different POVs are we going to get of it? And so it's kind of cool to see the original before, when this was just all we had. This was the only perspective of the scene that we got. It's really heartbreaking, even without context of the Clone Wars series. Like, it's still really sad seeing this happen, the way that the music kicks in after that initial blast to Obi-Wan. The clone troopers when they're running with Ki-Adi-Mundi, and then they just stop and they fire at him. It's a really well done scene. I feel like that tragedy was very well captured. And that's one of my biggest praises with Revenge of the Sith, is how weighty everything feels. You feel the genocide of the Jedi, Anakin's turn to the dark side. It all just feels very intense and dramatic and sad. It's some of the writing, specific writing, still isn't that great. Some of the dialogue is still not great. There is a great sense of dread, though, that I think more than compensates for that here. But yeah, that doesn't change the fact that there is still quite a bit of weak dialogue here in this prequels installment, especially when we get to kind of the preamble to Obi-Wan and Anakin's showdown. Anakin with Padme, their scene that they had before Obi-Wan shows up, and then just, oh god, a lot of that writing and that dialogue is just, it's so lacks subtlety. The actual fight between Obi-Wan and Anakin, I think, is mostly pretty cool. It's well choreographed. I think there's great music to it as well. It is very choreographed, though, and like I said, it's good choreography, but because of that, I really just don't feel any tension between them. I don't feel like either of them really has the upper hand. It just looks like they're on equal footing, with exception to the moments where they kind of punch and kick each other around a bit. Anakin chokes Obi-Wan briefly. Moments like that, sure, those are tense, but most of the time, it looks like they're just performing a dance, really, and it's good to look at. It's entertaining, but I don't feel that tension I really wanted to feel. I do love the moment, though, that Duel of the Fates comes on and it transitions to that, and I do actually really like how it's cross-cut between Yoda and Palpatine facing off, and I like their little duel as well. I think it's pretty good. This, of course, ends with Obi-Wan claiming the high grounds and Anakin getting his legs cut off and then burning alive, but not to a total crisp, because obviously he is still kept alive, and then, yeah, which we all know what happens from there. I don't get the high ground thing. Like, that hasn't been an advantage for other Star Wars characters. What about Darth Maul in Phantom Menace? What about Luke in Return of the Jedi when he's up another level during him and Darth Vader's showdown? You know, it didn't exactly work out for them in those cases. I enjoyed how this ties into Episode 4 as well, how the dots are connected, seeing where Luke and Leia go to, Leia going with Bail and his wife, and then Luke being sent to Baru and Owen. And I like it. I think it's a pleasant ending, and I think it works. You know, it's kind of expected and stereotypical to like see them kind of go off like that, but I think it's done well. And that's Revenge of the Sith, which I think overall is a pretty good Star Wars movie. There are certain scenes I think they could have done a lot better, like Anakin's actual turn to the dark side. I still think that a lot of the dialogue between him and Padme is pretty bad. It's not as bad as previously had been, but there are certain scenes where I just really almost laugh at how ridiculous some of the lines are. And poor Ewan McGregor, man, arguably the best actor in this trilogy, he has some of the worst lines in this movie. I can't watch anymore. So yeah, a lot of the dialogue still doesn't really work and is pretty bad in my opinion, but it is notably better than it was in the previous two installments in the prequel trilogy. You feel the weight of it all and the tragedy of all this going down and the Empire taking over. I feel like George Lucas did a really good job at capturing that. There's some great stuff with the Emperor as well, or Palpatine I should call him, he's not the Emperor yet. Manipulating Anakin, Ian McDiarmid kills it in all those scenes. He really does a lot to carry those moments. There's some fun action, some still pretty good visual effects. There's a lot to like about this movie too. It's not perfect, but I think that it's a well-made Star Wars film overall, I would give Revenge of the Sith a 7.5 out of 10. I feel like I have this like second wind of interest in Star Wars, even though it's like maybe, I don't know, like I've seen all these movies so many times, so you know it's not literally a second wind. But I'd kind of lost interest in the Star Wars franchise for a little bit after Rise of Skywalker, even though we still have had some good stuff since then. Like, still, it's been a while since I have been this interested in Star Wars related things. So yeah, this is just kind of cool to be having this feeling again. But yeah, I like Revenge of the Sith. I think it is definitely the best of this trilogy. But what do you all think of it? How do you like this movie? How do you think it ranks amongst the Star Wars series? If you got to see this in theaters, the 1 week that it came back to theaters, let me know how that experience was for you. I thought it was really cool. I'm really glad that I saw it. I hadn't seen it when it came out in 05 in theater, so it was just cool to experience this. Anyways, thank you all for watching another classic review of mine. I always forget to mention that it's the classic, but yeah, that's what I'm doing. This is a classic review. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you in my next video, which will be a normal review, not a classic review. Okay, peace out.